Welcome back to Between Two White Coats, a podcast designed to help you be the healthiest version of yourself. I'm Dr. Michelle Plaster, a family medicine doctor.
And I'm her co-host, Amber Foster, a family nurse practitioner. In our combined 30 years in medicine, we've seen a lot.
We're discussing key issues surrounding health and wellness, answering some of our biggest questions, overcoming health obstacles, and giving patient-centered advice in hopes of educating you and providing the tools you need to live a healthy life.
If you find our podcast helpful, please consider subscribing so you don't miss an episode. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating and review. This will help other people find our podcast.
Thanks for joining us. We look forward to serving you. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us today. Today, Amber and I are going to talk about something that is near and dear to us because we're going through it.
Amen.
Back to school time.
Yes.
It is time to return to structure. Every single year, I cannot wait for summer to start. And then about 7 days into it, I'm like, when does school start back?
We thrive better on structure, and my kids are older and in sports, so it's a different kind of structure during the summer now than we did when they were younger.
Yeah.
But it's still a little bit of mass chaos. And, when they get older, sporting teams pretend to like their parents don't work.
Yeah. Yes,
And
100%.
So that's also been real interesting to navigate, which I do have a driver, but then I have 2 kids in sports. And so I just feel like I am constantly like playing chess, which I don't know how to play.
Yeah, and when you say you have a driver, you mean you have a 16-year-old son
Yeah.
that drives.
Yes. So we're manipulating this schedule to do this and trying to get people where they need to be while, my husband and I both are still working.
Yeah. So it is something to just get through the summer because it's like camp after camp or where are we this week?
Yeah.
And so we're getting back to structure, which often feels like, oh, good, the hard part's behind us. We're going back to what we know.
Yeah.
However, it's not always a easy and clear transition. Yeah. Not for the parents, not for the student.
And teachers by the time we've probably air this podcast, they will have already started. But teachers are starting, I feel like, earlier and earlier every year. And, we see, I'll always say we have good teachers in this area because, when they schedule their appointments with us on every break. I will see teachers during the summer, on fall break, winter break, spring break. They don't really take vacation times during those breaks.
Not at all.
They're seeing us.
Yeah.
They're scheduling those appointments. And so, all of my teachers are like, oh, we're starting July, whatever. It's like the 2nd or 3rd week of July now.
And we have a lot of patients who are teachers and we hear their pain when school's starting back because the kids are not showing up ready to be back in school. Yeah. And that's not only stress on the teachers, it's really stress on the kids. And so there's a transition. Life is full of transitions. And I think one of the blessings we can give our kids is to teach them to navigate transitions. Yeah. Don't be afraid of change. Be prepared for change. Yeah. And so how do we get ready for back to school?
So one of the things that I do during my wellness visits with pediatrics, and I say I do them, I'm sure you probably do them as well, but I tend to see the majority of our pediatric population here at the clinic. One of the first things I'll ask kids is like, especially major transitions, like 3rd grade tends to be a major transition because we put so much pressure on kids about milestone testing, which drives me, I understand what the purpose is, but it drives me crazy because these kids are anxious before 3rd grade even starts.
Yeah, about some stuff that they can't even control.
Yeah.
You're going to take a standardized test,
yes.
But it's not
I understand why, but it's still stressful for those
students. But you just have to be a good student, like you're always being a good student, and then the testing happens.
Yes. And then like middle school transition, high school transition, college transition. But how do kids feel about it? Because I think we just expect, well, you're just going to school. Like, that's what you do.
Yes.
We go to school here in this country, in most countries. But, like, I'll ask kids, like, how are you feeling? Like, are you nervous? Are you excited? Are you both? And so sometimes giving kids room and space to say, I'm nervous about 3rd grade because of milestones. And then you can reiterate what you just said. Like, you're a good student. Like, all you have to do is just keep being you.
Yes.
And so I think
you can normalize their feelings.
Yes. So
you can help pull back.
Like my son will be a senior in high school this next year. And so that comes with a lot of things like college stuff.
Yeah,
and,
so much.
How do you feel about that? And what do you want to do for this? And so honestly having a conversation about how are you feeling, because transition can be hard. And so some kids could care less, and some kids it kind of sends them over the edge.
Yeah.
And so talking to your kids about that.
So you've said a lot of stuff that seems simple but is not happening. First, please bring up the conversation. How are you feeling about your school year this year? How are you feeling about going back to school? Because there are feelings that they have and they'll just bury them down, and then they show up at school with anxiety about something or overexcited or
stomach belly pains.
Right. And so I think you introduce the conversation. And I love how you introduced it with just an open-ended question, because sometimes we're asking them how they're feeling, but the way we ask it tells them how they're feeling. Are you scared about school this year? Are you scared that it's a big testing year? And then, well, no, not until you just said that. Or they don't feel free to just really tell you how they're feeling. You're sort of dictating their feeling there. So just very open-ended. How are you feeling about fifth grade? It's a couple weeks from now. What's that feel like to you?
My son and I were sitting outside, and I said to him, because he's prepping for college stuff, and I was like, how are you feeling about this? And he's like, Mom, I'm just really enjoying my life right now. Like, can we not do that? And I'm like, okay, well, we do have to prepare. Right. So, like, some kids are oblivious, maybe like my son, but it is a good way to just say, hey. Yeah.
So I think you bring up the conversation, and then you normalize their feelings. That feeling is okay, or this is going to be a difficult feeling for you. So let's talk through it and see if that helps. And then it also, as a parent, puts things on the radar for you so that you can be paying attention as they go back to school.
To your child, I think that matters. And I always tell any of my kids or any of the teachers, like, people don't go into education because they want to make bazillions of dollars and hate children. Like, nobody's a bad, quote unquote, bad teacher. And so, like, sometimes if you have connection with your kid to say, hey, they're nervous about this, and you can, like, preemptively tell their teachers, teachers are receptive to that.
Yes, they are.
And so
they appreciate that.
Yes. So that's, I would say initially, number one, have an emotional check-in.
Yes, I agree. And have an emotional check-in with yourself. Yeah. Because I think, especially in those milestone grades, your son is about to be a senior. You're having lots of feelings about this. You and I had a conversation about this a year ago where you were like, I'm already anticipating having these feelings. And so our own feelings can get pushed into our kids, and where he can be like, I'm just living my best life, and I just want to keep living my best life. But then you're really worried about what's next, or you're thinking, I'm going to miss you so much, or there are so much to do here. Then it's important for you to understand that too. So I think even as parents, as asking ourselves, how are we feeling about this year? And so I think first, let's just navigate the emotions. Let's address the emotions. Let's recognize the emotions. And that's a first great big step. And then what are some of the other things that going back to school?
Rest.
Yeah.
My kids their schedule is so messed up. My son, video games, take them or leave them, hate them, whatever. Kids are going to play them. And my kid's older now, and so I don't really care. I don't care.
That's right. And you've helped him kind of navigate your own time, get your stuff done, and then enjoy yourself.
Yes. But getting back, especially littles, big kids too, but littles need still a lot of sleep. Like 6 to 12-year-olds still need 10 to 12 hours of sleep. Over 12 need about 10.
And so when they've been kind of navigating, and we were able to relax the rules in the summer. And so some kids might normally go to bed at 9, and for summer they're going to bed at 11 or 12. Or my son is 12, and he'll talk about some of his friends who are playing video games at 3 a.m. Well, we have to recognize what our kids have been doing. And if there are some abilities to lighten stuff up in the summer, great. Let them enjoy themselves. That's okay. But you can't say school starts tomorrow. You've been going to sleep at midnight for the last 2 months. Now get in bed at 9:30 and think they're going to fall asleep. Come on, we all know this. You didn't have to talk to a doctor to figure this out. So a couple weeks in advance, you've got to start pushing to what you want their bedtime to be. Have them busy during the day, active, physically exercising, so that they're getting tired during the day and can fall asleep earlier. Get them back into that, and then make them get up earlier. If you have to get up at 6:30 a.m. for school, and you've been waking up up at noon all summer. Well, that first week is not going to go
The first
well.
day is great because everybody's excited and they want to put their cute school clothes on. But then after that, it's downhill.
They're exhausted and they're not sleeping right and they can't fall asleep even though they might be tired.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law is Atlanta public school teacher for the last 33 years. And so in preparation for this episode, I asked her, Julia, what would you have people doing before back to school? And she was like, please get them to bed and get them rested, because the first week or two of school, they just can't stay awake. Yeah. And I mean, it's kind of obvious and simple, but you can't just thrust them into a new bedtime routine night before.
Yeah.
You got to start a couple weeks early. So yes, I think that is huge. We're looking at their emotions, looking at their sleep patterns. Two of the pillars for success in life are managing your stress and managing your sleep. Yeah. And so we've got, the four things that we say have to be done is stress, sleep, exercise, and nutrition. Yeah. And three of them really hit here because I think another one is really planning the nutrition. Yeah. Looking at what have they been eating and what are we going to do do we have things ready for a healthy lunch, whether they're going to pack or whether they're going to buy it. Are we getting ready to eat breakfast before we go to school? Because if you've been sleeping till 10, 11, 12 o'clock, when you wake up at 6:30, you're not going to eat. So let's already talk about, you need to eat at breakfast before you go to school.
Well, and some kids are on medications, and so that varies. Like food times often, like especially my son has ADHD, and so like we try to make sure he eats before he takes his medication, otherwise his stomach hurts. So like those
and getting back on that medication schedule. So I'm going to make you get up at a certain time, go ahead and eat and take your medicine so that we can get that back in your system as usual. And if you have ADHD and you've done a drug holiday over the summer because they didn't need as much focus, don't just wait till first day of school to start that medicine back. I think a week or two prior, get it in their system. If they are going to have a little bit of side effects, getting used to it again, we can get that out of the way.
And then like kids who play sports, or if they're, we're asking kids to focus all day long at school, even if they don't have ADHD, like we're asking a lot of kids to sit and learn. And then like so many kids now are involved, which I'm all for, like extracurricular things, but like having snacks available. I mean, I feel like my kids are moving out of my house every morning. Yeah. Because of all the things all that the are bags required. And so I was reading an article and they were talking about having a hydration station. Now, I never owned a water bottle growing up. Did you?
I did not.
I mean, never, nothing. Like
I started hydrating. I started hydrating around 40 when I was pregnant.
Yeah. Like,
otherwise, I've been dehydrated my entire life.
I mean, 1,000%. We grew up dehydrated. So these kids with all these cute like Owalas and Stanleys. And,
I love it.
I love them.
I love it that they carry their water bottles everywhere.
But making sure that kids are hydrated as well.
Yes.
Because there is so much that is demanded of them in the classroom and outside the classroom.
And to be your best, you really have to have good nutrition and have good hydration. So being prepared for that. And that makes me think then, as we're preparing for the things we need, we may need a water bottle we both strongly recommend that you, my son's been raised to, where's your water bottle, fill it up and take it to school.
Been raised that, but we've probably lost about, I'm not joking, 20 of them at least.
Yeah, and then we just pick out another cute one.
He usually takes his sister's, and then he loses that one. So seriously,
there you go. And then the other things that we have to purchase and prepare. So you get your back to school list, and don't wait until the day before. So get busy on that. Exactly.
The backpack restriction we talked about. Yes. That. So kids' backpacks weigh, I don't even know how much. Ridiculous.
This is really important to think about, and I don't think we do. We just know that they have to have all these things, and then we throw it into a backpack on their back, and they should not be. It's not good for them to carry.
10 to 15% of their backpack weight. It should be of their total
of their body weight. So
like if they're a 60-pound kid, their backpack shouldn't weigh more than 6 pounds.
And so important to think when we're cramming all that stuff in there, that we've got to be smart about that. And in thinking about preparing and what they need, we've said water bottle, we've talked about the backpack and getting all the school supplies and being ready. Anything else just that we want the parents to start? We've talked about meal prepping and starting to get your food for.
I say academic boosters, like readers are leaders, and your kid should always be reading. Like period.
Yes.
Like I'm a huge. I'm a nerd. I read all the time, and I know that that's not everybody's thing. But when your child is not reading all summer long, and then you're putting them back into that, like even if it's just story time, it's not on an iPad. Like technology boundaries definitely. I mean, I was joking about my child playing video games, but I mean, my kids are on their phone. I mean, they just are. They are older. They have phones. They have, they're accessible. My nieces are 4 and 8. They have iPads. Like, and
we have to realize that there is an attachment that happens with this. And if you, an adult, are listening to this and you don't think it, then put your phone in the other room for 4 hours, and you're not allowed to go touch it or look at it or figure out anything about it. You're not allowed to use your Apple Watch to see what's actually going on your phone. And you can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm checking, is my phone on my hip and what's going on my phone? It's just how we're programmed. Yeah. So if your kids have been really doing technology and on their phones and things like that, you may want to pull that back now so that they don't start having a twitch about where's my phone. And you want to get them reading before the first day of school. Yeah. So get up early and eat your breakfast and read for a couple hours to get back into the book mentality of things.
Just to always have something, even on breaks. Like, even if it's just you reading to them, like them just hearing the words, like reading matters. And so I would say any educator would say, you know, please allow your kid to read all summer and encourage that.
Yes.
So just academic transition. So boosters of like, if they've done flashcards or if they've had like previous worksheets or handwriting or for littles. My kids have summer work, so my dining room table currently looks like AP Human Geography with like hundreds of pieces of paper. I don't even know what they're doing. I'm like, go with God, kids. Go for it.
Yes.
I have no idea. There's a lot of colored pencils and maps, but
they haven't been on a full academic vacation. Yeah. And if your child has been on a full academic vacation, you got to start reintroducing the academics before day one, or else they're going to sit there like, what's going on right now? My brain's not prepared for this. And so I think that's a great idea.
Last things is if you've not had your annual physicals or sports physical, the summer's a great time to do that.
And if your child is in a sport, please be well informed to know that there's a new thing called a sports physical.
Yes.
You're going to be shocked to hear that they have to have that sports physical, and you're going to call for a same-day urgent visit to get that sports physical. I joke, but we all know that if our kids are in sports, they're going to need a sports physical. We have said this before, and I believe strongly, if your child has not had an annual wellness visit, don't just make a sports physical. That's not the same. Sports physical is, will they stay alive and be okay to participate in a sport? It does not include things like, are they up to date on their vaccines or developmental screenings or other depression and anxiety screenings and things of that sort. But we, in our practice, are happy to complete your sports physical form, which we've pretty much done all of that at your annual wellness. So if they haven't had an annual wellness, it's a great routine to get into, to make that appointment in the summer, to go ahead and have the sports physical form filled out at the same time. And then you've got it for your camps, you've got it for your full school year, and you're ready to go. So it's not like last minute, everybody trying to get that sports physical done.
One of the things that I've seen in an 11 family practice is, like, there's several families and kids now that are now adults that I saw for years, and their parents made their annual physicals a priority. They saw me every year. Now, they would also see me when they were sick if needed, but they always had their annual physicals. Well, now I've got like kids, I'm putting in quotes, that have graduated college that still see me for the annual physicals because they're used to seeing Miss Amber.
It's their life. It's their routine.
That's just good health maintenance.
It is. And you're teaching them to value that, and they'll continue to value it. And so definitely get those annual wellness visits. Summertime's a good time to do that. Get your sports physical form filled out. Get your prescriptions if they have them before school starts. Sometimes you need a note for school to say, hey, they might need to keep an albuterol for their asthma at the nurse's office. And and so it's a good idea to get that stuff. Your dentist appointments, your eye doctor appointments, just kind of pound those out in the summer so that when things do get more constrained on time during the school year, you're good on those things. And then there's a different kind of back to school that if we do this episode a year from now, you'll be crying during it, and that's the off to college. I'm really excited about it. Especially for the senior that's just graduated who's going to become a freshman in college, going to college for the first time. Yeah. There's a lot of conversation. I don't think that we should expect that these guys are just navigating this emotionally okay. So how do you feel about this? And what are your concerns? And what is your plan for different situations?
Well, I have just sitting with people for so long, and I often will see everybody's excited, and then everybody's excited, and then October-ish hits, and like the newness has worn off of college. You know, if they were rushing or if they were getting in their classes, now their midterm and stuff there's a lot more pressure, and it's still a few weeks till Christmas, and so they feel lonely. Mm-hmm. And so I have told so many patients, and so many of them have said, thank you so much for this, and the parents, and honestly, just through practice, because I would see some of my patients back, and it's not true depression or anxiety, it is almost grief. Like they realize like, oh, it's not fun anymore. This is like, college is like a job, like it is school, and they miss their family.
I thought living with my parents was the worst thing ever until I got that roommate, and then I realized my parents weren't that bad.
Yes, and so there's kind of almost this grief, like they've kind of like they miss home, and they miss their high school friends, and they miss, not always, but I've seen it happen, and so I will warn parents and teens that are going off to college, like, hey, kind of expect this October-ish. I've just seen it in practice.
I think
I don't know
that's
how much
so smart.
to it, but like, it's okay that you feel this.
Yeah.
It's kind of almost expect to feel it. If you don't feel it, great. But if you do, know you're normal.
Yes. And know that it's okay to miss your parents.
Yeah.
You know, you've been spending all these teen years going, oh, I cannot wait to get away from you. But it's okay to miss your parents. And when you are transitioning to college, there's some really important conversations around safety.
Yeah.
You know, we hear the horrible stories in the news about girls going running by themselves in a wooded area or at dusk or dark. And we just have to have conversations about college campuses, and don't have your earbuds in. Don't be oblivious to your surroundings. But you are an adult, and you have to be able to take your surroundings in. And if your gut tells you something doesn't feel right, don't go in there.
Always have somebody that you're checking in with, even if it's not your roommate. Like
going to parties with a friend, walking across campus with a friend. These are just smart things, and it's just the beginning of taking ownership for your own safety.
You're also 18, and so like, I mean, I joke about this, but my son called me last week because he didn't know how to open up a can of cinnamon rolls, but like, he'll be 18 in August, and so then that takes away some rights as a parent, right?
Yeah.
So quote unquote adults, and so like, what does that look like? If they go to a doctor's office, what does that look like for him to fill out paperwork? I can't get that information. Right. Like all of that kind of stuff, you need to have those conversations about, okay, you're 18. If you go see someone, unless you put me on your HIPAA, I can't get that information to be able to navigate that.
Yes. For you. And also makes me think of financial independence, like having these conversations around, well, how much money will you be allowed to spend or not spend over periods of time? And how are you going to navigate your money and not overspending? Don't get yourself in credit card trouble right off the bat. You're 18. People are going to be asking you to fill out this credit card. They get a commission if you get a t-shirt. And so I think those conversations become very valuable. I think conversations around nutrition at college are very valuable. We've all heard the freshman 15. And so you're not eating like you ate at your parents' house.
Well, and some kids, like my children, they've been super active in high school. I don't expect them to play any college sport. So you have kids that have been playing year-round sports, running around, playing.
Forced to exercise. They've never once thought about, will I exercise today? Yet they exercise for hours every single day.
So then that's taken away. And also, college classes, you can choose when you do them, right? So you have a lot more free time.
Yeah.
And I think that's also odd for people. Like,
and so selecting, you don't report at 7:30 and are tied up there till 3:30, and then you have your after school activities after that. So you have to figure out how you're going to use your free time.
Nutrition, exercise, clubs, and organizations.
I think talking and setting some goals around an exercise program, whether it's going for walks or whether it's running or picking up on a club soccer team, or so that you're staying active, because you lose that activity if you're not playing high school sports anymore.
I have several patients that'll come back and say, Miss Amber, I have so much free time that I've never had before because they were always overprogrammed, in high school or and then they go to college and they're like, oh, I'm taking 15 hours.
Which also really becomes a conversation about procrastination as well, because no one's sitting there telling you, you have to do this, do it right now. Did you study today? Yeah. And so that free time is meant to be study time, is meant to not make you pull an all-nighter, which I think you have to have a conversation around sleep too. Yeah. You have all the freedom in the world when you go to college. How are you going to use it? And you have to respect your sleep, and you have to have a regular bedtime. You can't go to bed at midnight one night, 9 o'clock the next because you're tired, 3 a.m. the next because you're studying. So let's try to keep a routine around your sleep. And please don't think that an all-nighter the night before a big test is going to be a great idea, because your brain's going to be tired and you're not going to remember stuff and you're not going to perform well. So you got to keep up as you go, have a regular daily study routine, have a schedule that you keep yourself on. Everyone does better with a routine. So what's your routine going to look like before you even show up?
Substances is something I discuss with colleges.
That's a great. If they weren't
exposed to them in high school, they definitely will be exposed to them
yes.
in college. I would say most high school students are exposed to some sort of substances that would be abusive. But having those conversations too.
Recognizing that that's going to happen, and we have to have them prepared for it. I think all of these are just really valuable conversations. I think as a parent, when you initiate these conversations before they leave, then they're going to call you to say, oh, I'm struggling with this. And you want to be able to keep that connection so that they're tapping into you, as opposed to maybe the frat bros for life advice.
Well, and also like learning about like where the police station is at the university, and most universities,
where is the health center?
Yeah, some of the things that are resources to them they may not realize are resources that the campus itself offers.
Yeah, fabulous. So as your littles or medium size or bigs are heading to the next thing, there's conversations to have around it. There's preparation to do. We all do better when we have actually taken time to prepare. So it's exciting. It's the next thing. Be excited for it, but also be prepared. Good luck with back to school, and yes, you wish us luck, and really good luck with off to college. And know that you have been preparing your kids for this next thing, and they're going to be okay. But you want to have open dialogue and conversation around it. Thank you for joining us. We like to leave you on a good note, so here's today's Tell Me Something Good. Something good is being wrong, and let me tell you, I hate it. Hate every second of it, but there are never times that I learn more than when I can humble myself and recognize that being wrong is an opportunity. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, take care of yourself.